But, so, there's quite a few different things. If she does decide to take a bit of time in corporate America, like Google, they're all about their analysis and.
Holy, we're on.
Yeah. That's why it's kind of. It's really great. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see.
Oh, you can change this. Change the camera. Although I guess what's happening, seriously, my head looks skinnier. People are.
See, it's supposed to come over here, 'cause I'm talking.
Well, sometimes it doesn't switch around very graciously. I've noticed that during some board meetings.
Pick you up.
No,
When we sit down, Matt, see what it's like.
What's up with that?
well, it's sensible when it's moving around. Word for speaker.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay, begin the meeting 7:35. After power delay.
You by any chance have an extra copy of your agenda?
I asked you downstairs.
I didn't hear you, I apologize. No, did you say that? I didn't. Don't worry about it.
Look on the bus.
Isn't terribly complicated.
Yeah, but true.
Approval of the agenda that Lester doesn't have. You wanna see it?
It's all good.
Remember the copier was out because of the power.
Okay, great. I have it online, I just didn't bring it back. It's okay, it's fine, it's all good.
I'm super in favor of the agenda. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of June minutes. We'll look them over, they're good. Any questions? Great, good job.
Great minutes of your.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So I did send out, on item 3, the survey questions. Panel. And, our discussion last meeting was, how should Grafton exist in the future? Pondering question. Did everyone get it? Simon?
I did. I like it.
Should we find it again?
It's a great hard ass question. It's a good way to put a very important topic.
Where did it go out to the town?
No, it didn't. We tabled it until this meeting.
Oh, okay.
If you wanted to discuss it,
All right.
and you couldn't discuss it. Now if I can just find it again. You have it, once, by any chance?
Should.
the idea was to have a little article in Grafton News. Basically asking for. Posing this question. And seeing what kind of response we get. Right? And provide me emails. Okay, here it is. The Grafton Planning Commission asks residents, present, past, and future. I don't know why I put past in there.
I mean. Survey future of their homes.
Maybe someone who might be here thinking they're gonna move into town. Would play around with it.
Alright.
Here we. Planning Commission asks residents, past, present, and future. Why their thoughts of how and where they would like to see Grafton exist in the ever evolving and presently predicted future. So basically, I'm thinking some of the
Climate change, demographics,
energy.
economics.
Yeah. So it's your village and your participation for it to continue will be necessary to exist and how it will. Yeah. When I sent it to Lester, I asked him, is it too strong? Well, that,
Yeah, no, I do, and I tell you, my feeling is still the problem, the problem really is. I'm all in favor of beating people over the head to get an answer, which I know is not necessarily great, but that's really what we need to do. We need to get an answer.
yeah,
So, you know, to be as emphatic as possible without being polite is, I think, appropriate.
that's what I was getting at with this, was to really jar them a little bit. To the point where, you know, when something happens in town, they're all over it.
Right, exactly.
Sorry, folks, if you're out there, but I'll say it. When something that really starts the buzz going, or it goes. They're all over it. So I was told this would be a good way to say, hey, how do you want this town to exist?
But
Do you want it to exist?
that's not a bad thing to do. It's supposed to say, look, you know, we know each other. When something small happens, we're all over it. You know, when something immediate happens, we're all over it. This is really important. This is up and coming. We're not all over it. This is really more important than what to do about dogs, what to do about Airbnbs. You know, this is really an important long-term thing that you guys are putting your head in the sand about. Let's talk about it. I mean, I'm not saying those are the words, that's just me and my peculiar way, but that's really what you gotta be able to nicely, but firmly, and I don't know how to do it because I'm not from here, make people do. So you tell me, what do you do?
There's one thing, nothing, why we're doing this. And I think we should preface the whole thing with, we're beginning the process of town planning. Your business.
Mhm.
So they understand we're doing this with the intent of modifications that might go on. And the only drawback to this, and we have to recognize that up front, is that we're gonna get the opinions of the willing and eager to have their opinions,
Right.
you just have to acknowledge that it's gonna be biased.
But by the way, is it gonna be just biased one group or is it gonna be extremists on both sides? I mean, what do you think?
Oh, you might get both sides. So
You know, You don't think you'll.
But you'll get people, you'll get people who. Want to have their. Opinions heard. As opposed to. Getting a. Good cross-sectional. Opinion from the populace. And that's my only point, that you have to realize. That's a limitation. This is good information. But it's not comprehensive.
Right. Do you think there's, again, please stop me, I don't wanna go on about and get a dead horse, but. So you think if you wound up then getting, for example, some particularly agenda driven entity. That the follow-up can say, by the way, your fellow, townspeople are saying X. How do you feel about that? I mean, maybe not naming names, but you just keep on pushing people in their face that this is an important question and we're only hearing one side of it. What's your side of it? I don't know, but just, the kind of, unfortunately, the kind of way in which you gotta push people to think about it. Will they react or will they respond? And if they won't, then we're just wasting our time.
Well, they need to understand what's in the town plan. We talked about the 12 chapters,
Yeah,
and of the 12 chapters, there's 4 that are pretty touchy.
and we've been accused of not addressing some issues in the town plan, but in fact. We do have it in the town plan. Perhaps not as. The same wording as these people would like. We do indeed. Address issues that are, we've been accused of not addressing.
What are the 4 touchy issues that you're gonna have to?
Well, energy is gonna be one. We talked about it in the hall downstairs, or with power coming in briefly. We should bring up that discussion again. And then, the mapping. Right,
The water,
the flood
map.
Well, yeah,
flood map, well, it's flood resilience, yeah,
yeah.
is the chapter. And then, economy.
You know what? Economy.
Economy. So the economy is, what do we do besides tapping in and a store?
So that's broader. I'm sorry, I only got 3. Energy, the flood resilience map, economy, what was it
For
for?
the maps themselves. What's that chapter called? Mapping. That's chapter. Maps. Maps.
I don't think economy is quite as. Burning an issue as. Parents. There's. A great deal of resistance to anything that. Changes the way. Grafton looks. And whether it's, has to do with economy or. Energy or, people having parties or, whatever it is that is changing the way Grafton looks. We'll have a bunch of people that are gonna get wound up about it.
You have a town planner, plus. Yeah.
So.
What do you travel?
There's 92 pages of the town plan.
What, yeah,
And it runs from 2020 to 2028. So here it is 2024, we're halfway through. Needing to get our town plan started.
That's about right. Or where we should be.
Yeah, so to start the dialogue, so we should do it now rather than waiting until the 27th.
I do have it up, did you want the sections?
Yeah, I got it up, so just so you can look along over there. It's land use, historic, cultural, and natural resources, the economy, roads and transportation, energy, education. So that could be a. Mention as well, housing, recreation, town government services, flood resiliency. Grafton and its neighbors and their response to Vermont planning goals. Even all 12 chapters are. Well, interest to the town. But I was thinking before, where that for me, is economy, energy. Flood resiliency. Yeah. And the mapping, which is. The maps are, have to see, right?
They should,
Maybe it was, land use.
yeah, I was gonna ask, if land use ever get any
Yeah,
attention?
That's kind of where I was going after the, that's where we had an issue. What we're doing the last one, how the maps. We were following what state and when the regional.
Yeah, especially the land use designations for various areas. We were trying to align with what one of the regional used for categories. Not sure that we fully succeeded.
And there were a couple of new. Facts that were coming into play, 171.
One side, one, I believe is habitat connectivity.
And then there was another one with. Forestry,
Forest law.
forest law.
So, which the new floodplain maps would be. And the floodplain maps. And that's something that we're gonna have to deal with. Sooner than later because of Act 50 changes to the. Just come down the pike. Don't know whether there's gonna be any kind of a loophole that we can escape being. Universally subjected to river corridors. But, Agency of Natural Resources certainly has one on that.
Well, we jumped ahead a little bit to the next agenda item, but. The survey question kind of leads up to. The reason for the survey question is for. Presentation or the revision of the town plan.
And the public may generate ideas that don't fall within the normal planning that we've done in past town plans. They could have something novel, and that would be great.
Yeah. Isn't that what's going on in Londonderry? Planning commission quit because of something they were following. With the state or the. Regional commission wanted or something. I don't know, they follow what the state wanted and the select board said, no, I don't want that in our. Plan revision or something.
I don't remember.
It's not reasonable. But the planning commission has quit.
Okay.
And,
Don't know what the issue was.
yeah, I just found out about it.
Oh, I think I know. They had a major. Town plan revision. Which. They went through all the. Hoops that they're supposed to jump through. Public meetings, notices, publication and everything else. And. Presented it to the public and. It's like poking a stick into the rump of a bear. All of a sudden, people. Decided they might look at it. And they came to the meeting saying. What are you doing to us? We never heard about this stuff. And the public was outraged, or at least part of the public was. And. I don't think it was a. Decision of the select board with the planning commission was. Where's I, where it was. The general public, that was, the select board did. Decline to accept the town plan as presented. Send it back to the planning commission, the planning commission wants it. We've been working on this for years and now you're telling us this, kind of.
And.
We're doing it for 6 years, well, starting in Manchester Journal.
Yeah.
They were getting pretty nitpicky on some of the stuff they were trying to do. And I think they've got a zoning regulation that falls under the town plan. Um, We don't have to deal with, because we don't have zoning except for flood zoning in town.
So the planning commission was getting nitpicky, or the town was getting nitpicky?
The public perception of the town plan was that it was regulating a whole bunch more than it should.
Okay, so. Touche. Yeah. Which is good, you get, trying to get feedback after 6 years,
Yeah,
so I guess. If we start our questioning now. We get people fired up about it,
a little bit.
well, let's test the waters. And see where,
We don't need to have people with yard signs out and
not yet.
we need to get them engaged in a constructive way.
Makes
That's,
sense.
that's exact, thank you.
Here we
That's
go.
a beautiful,
You said it.
that's a great way to put it.
And
but-
engage,
Yeah, in a constructive way in this really important conversation that we generally avoid being. Engaged.
Emotional.
engage in a constructive fashion,
Sure.
way, fashion.
Um, Way back in history. Planning commission. With the help of. One of the regional commission has. Provided a. Pair of. Facilitators. Ran a. Public. Engagement. Session over in Homestead. That, solicited just the same kind of questions that you're trying to ask now. But in a dynamic kind of situation. Over the course of one night. Food provided, good. Scenarios to be well. Lots of flip charts to have people provide ideas and vote with little stickers as to what they thought were the best ideas. Even though that was a good solicitation of ideas, I don't think it ever resulted in any much change in our plan. I just thought I'd throw that out there so you know that that sort of thing has happened in the past.
So then really truly, what does, so then does the town plan really just be the creation of this committee? Is that the really lines up being the story?
Rich?
And despite all these, I mean, I hear you, when we want to push.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right, that. That is a proper term. But it's not without engagement of. The greater public. We have a statutory. Requirement to develop the town plan. And. It's not something that the. Select board can impose upon us. It's our responsibility as a. As a. Town body which is. Sanctioned by state statute. This is one of our responsibilities.
Remind me again, I'm just not sure I remember, was this town plan, the one that we did in this last one? The one where you got, we had the big. Dispute about the windmill language that had to get addressed, that was in here. So,
Yes.
so people did read it and at some point took real serious objection. I don't remember who started, where the PC was. And, but regardless of, that was the item that caught everyone's attention and caused a big brouhaha. Was there other items in your last town plan that got attention?
Not that kind of attention.
So here's a thought, man. You wanna be
Land-
really-
Land, at the
Yeah.
end. We gotta change a few things.
Yeah,
We went to, the hearing, when we had the hearing, we had to go back and.
but it was the wind controversy under the energy chapter. That made a 3 or 4 year. Review process, like about 10, right? It was worrisome.
So here's a crazy idea, and I'm telling you, this is just throwing out at you. Like, when the time comes, the possibility exists that we take it upon ourselves in our enlightened interest in being proper about the positive growth or the positiveness of grafting, to put in stuff. And as they say, right, raise it up the flagpole and see who salutes, and take, assuming we don't get, which indeed is what you're saying, you're not going to get the town engagement, particularly in any deep way. You still though could do the same, use the game plan that happened with the windmill stuff, put something in there that represents our considered wisdom. And then let people push back. Because then they'll read it and then they'll say, oh no, I mean, that could really be the way to draw fire. That's the word I'm looking for, draw fire.
Do you put draft versions up?
Mm-hmm.
Do you put draft versions up?
Oh, yeah. This goes through many revisions.
We try our best to get engagement. And then without the engagement and the input that we want to get, which is we're all understanding is probably unlikely, we then come up with our own best solutions. Or thoughts, I don't know, figure it all out.
As having weathered the 10 years,
Yeah, you know it.
it's like, not a good.
No, I get it, I don't know, I'm not, I don't know, I mean, this is why I don't do this, is I don't know what to do.
Well, current plan is through 2028. So we're doing for the next 8 years, actually.
I'm personally most worried about what we may do to mitigate climate change right now. And to what extent we can do that without raising people's hackles up too much. Because the town plan is basically a foundation for what the town builds its other regulations and ordinances and everything else on top of. Do things that will facilitate, we'll say, taking the right course, making people a little more comfortable going through the next decade. Because we're headed in, my personal opinion, in a very hazard direction as a society. Well, perhaps, maybe we're living, I think we're living here in Grafton, New England in general, an area that is blessed with advantages compared with elsewhere. But we're still gonna make the situation gonna get worse. And whether or not a windmill is built or somebody raises them and well in the middle of town, doesn't really make a whole lot of difference if you got half your highways being put down into the Connecticut River every year. Need to temper our desire to raise emotional issues with things that maybe don't matter that much and pay a lot of attention to those things that maybe will help us survive this a little bit better. Let's get down off my soapbox now.
I couldn't agree with you more, I just also wonder what a little town like this can do in macro things.
Well, it's just like Vermont. Vermont's the petri dish for the country right now, with what's going on. Whether you agree or disagree with the reasons for climate change, just climate change, period. It's been going on for a million years or more. Probably the third or fourth cycle of million years of the earth being what it is. Can't do anything about it, we just have to be resilient to what is happening, regardless of the cause. Right now, they're blaming humans on the cause. That's part of the problem with many people.
Yeah, they don't like to be blamed.
Well,
People don't like to be blamed for what they're not.
are we getting facts? What facts are we getting? You know, there's. I'm hearing both sides of the story. And I'm kind of on the fence with the reasons. Right? They don't tell you about the volcanoes going off the Pacific Ocean that are heating the ocean. They won't tell you that. But yet they'll throw the carbon dioxide issue on you. To the point where you're getting professionals saying they want zero CO2. That's not true. You need CO2.
Yeah, plants need
You
to.
need CO2. So they're lying to us when they say they want to get rid of all the CO2. When they have comments like that. You know, Bill Gates saying that. Right?
Oh,
Where do you, how do you answer that when Bill Gates says we want zero CO2?
he's not talking about.
I don't think it's talking about
Yeah,
zero carbon, I think they're talking about buildings being neutral, carbon neutral, not zero carbon.
The other two, we all agree, we think it's needed, just
And he
the
also wants,
extra,
he also wants the
all the
population
extra.
down to 150,000 people, you know, it's like.
Right, people are really not paying attention, no one knows that they pay attention. I mean, I don't know if I totally agree, but I certainly understand that there's a lot, and we all know, we're living in an age of total agenda-driven disinformation. That's a really big part of everything.
Yeah,
Exactly right.
agenda driven
Yeah.
disinformation, that is a real big problem.
And
But it depends on what side of the agenda you're, there's two sides of the agenda too.
I'm saying,
Well, I'll go with the climate science.
They're saying,
Politician.
they're saying, well, okay, yeah.
case in point, this is all the stuff that just everyone, has very serious thoughts about. Even if they're unformed, and mine are unformed, but there's serious thoughts about it. And yet we need to figure out a way to pull together about something like the future of crafting in a way that we can't let, and they will, these really important items be the wedges that prevent the more general conversation about the future of how to handle this little piece of heaven work. And I just think that, like we've done, we owe it to them, and we will, but I don't know if we're necessarily gonna, and just looking at myself, and this is all of us, I don't know if you're gonna get any of the attention you want from the people. So what do you do if you don't get their attention? Do what you did last year. What about the flagpole and seriously?
Well, we have to follow the climate change or the energy. Look back at the energy.
The good news is we have our own intelligent but differences of opinion right here, so.
Sure.
This is itself,
Yeah.
the
Let's
little,
screaming at each other.
this is itself the little place.
So we can,
where we say-
whatever we decide as a group, we still have to follow what the state throws back at us.
What does that mean?
We have to follow, just like when we did our energy chapter 4 years ago. It was, in my opinion, a lot of rhetoric that would never happen. And if you look at, go back to our little conversation earlier about EVs. I'm finding the bus take quickly and energy and that little chart.
Is it in here?
Yeah, it's in the
And,
plan.
Basically,
Basically, it was number of EVs, in Grafton. Electricity use. Oh. By the year 2025, how many EVs they projected in Grafton?
I had vehicle fuel conversion goals.
Yes, they're either, yeah, vehicle fuel, there you go. Vehicle
Where you think
fuel
one?
conversion goals.
Estimated new electric vehicles in Grafton, 44 by 2025, 311 by 2035, and 658 by 2050.
Okay.
In Grafton.
That's page 44.
So, you know, that alone is. Money being a jewels burned.
But it also had biodiesel power, and I don't think you're anywhere near the, that's 67.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a lot of this was what we had to put in here.
That was from the state.
Well, yeah, it was a carrot and stick situation. It had to do with the Public Utilities Commission. Had to do with whether or not a town plan would get substantial deference when it came to the way they wrote up individual towns' restrictions on things, particularly energy projects.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to have a strong say, you had to follow these guidelines that the Department of Public Service developed. And there really legitimately are a lot of questions whether or not the basis for much of that is good science. As Matt said, we had to follow it if we wanted to achieve substantial deference. Otherwise, we would just, I forget the other legal term for acknowledging that you've got a differences of any kind of when it comes to your town plan affecting energy developments in town. So that was the carrot. If you wanted that, then you had to do this. This was very complicated.
Yeah, probably the most effective thing they have here is called the energy stuff. It is federally funded. Energy Star home rebates. I mean, that is an interesting program. Federally funded by the US Department of Energy. Yeah, I think that has driven some more efficient, clients and energy use. That's kind of tucked away at the very bottom. Doesn't really get a lot.
Did you go into our, the goals, policies and recommendations for action?
Yeah, no,
And. How much of this is going to change by the time we get to 2028?
yeah.
Is it going to be more achievable for us to say, yeah, that's reasonable? Or are they gonna get worse? At the moment, if they're leaning towards, in my opinion, it's gonna be worse. So we're gonna have to achieve. Didactic.
I read these policies and they all sound like they're for bigger towns. I read these policies and they all sound like they're for larger urban areas.
Most of the,
Town of Grafton will reduce total energy by running energy conservation. And a shift in efficiency measures, but reduce transportation energy demand and single occupancy vehicles. There's probably a lot of carpooling in Grafton.
Let's see, somehow fundamentally change. how transportation fits into our lifestyle, we're still gonna be transporting. Now, autographing for employment and for securing
You do,
food.
and you won't change people a lot, but it's an interesting time to health. That, you know, I have family living on either side of me. I try to walk rather than drive almost every day if I go see them, because it's better for me and I start the car. You know, and that is something you know, that. You know, if you need to go half a mile, take a walk. You don't necessarily need to take a drive, and that does two things.
Until your hips and knees are going off.
Yeah, I feel that every, but
Then you jump.
But it's a little thing, but it's kind of, you know, if you talk sustainability, is, you know, if you get, you know, millions of people doing the little thing.
So how about we turn Grafton into like the villages in Florida where we have a little golf cart community, electric golf carts?
Electric bikes, I tell you, I'm the Johnny Appleseed of my cheer group, and getting everyone to use e-bikes. You know, I love biking, but now I'm already an old fart, I go on the e-bike, but if, you know, if I have time, I'll go to Bellows Falls on it, I mean, it's great. I would never, I mean, I would go rather than even go to MKT, I used to have to get in the car, now I go on my e-bike.
Yeah.
You can't beat it.
It's kind of a lifestyle thing, you know, I think it is. And yeah, as you're older, it gets harder, but it's good for you, you know, I mean, it does reduce. But that's good.
If Grafton is going to have a significantly higher. uh, Population of electric vehicles, and particularly since we're a tourist destination. We have to do something about the charging. Now, I'd like to see a recognition of the lack of charging as being something that holds our economy back considerably.
I think you're right. Is there any charges in town or not? Do we had this conversation?
It's true, town has two.
Sharon is too.
And we were supposed to have some on public access on public properties, but on public property is here. Township, the village park,
Hard.
park.
That is-
Well, that's not town either, that's
No, oh, that's true. It's
private. Yeah, that's private, it's, association.
The township is out of the way.
So we don't have too many spots. But that's another topic we talked about briefly was where the power come from. Do all this generation, you know, the analogy of, where there's four car charging stations. If they're all four being used to fully charge 4 vehicles. It's the same as providing electricity for 24 homes in 24 hours. 24 and 24? About that. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
If you get 4 cars to be charged, you could run 24 homes in a day.
How's it compared with the gasoline that might be consumed by those same vehicles?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, there's so many things, I mean, even again, and the electricity, let's never forget, is fossil fuel created for the most part. I mean, I don't know up here, is it hydroelectric up here? Do we get our electric from?
Well,
Used to come from Quebec.
and that's more than used to, the only time you really find out where the rubber meets the road is you have a major disaster and all the distribution lines. Transmission lines to them. We get a very significant amount of power here from Hydro-Quebec. It used to be that we used a lot of nuclear power, very similar to New England stations, most of which are shut down. And the peaking power, that's a day like today where it gets really hot and they have to have power and they can't get through Hydro-Quebec very conveniently. They have to buy it at a very high price from a gas turbine peaking plant, that probably costs them between 5 and 10 times the amount that they would otherwise have to pay for hydropower. But those are the sources that we have here in London. Most of the revenue that is generated by renewable generation in Vermont is credited to other states. These so-called renewable energy credits. Well, that's a source of great friction. Or somebody says like, Vermont is really green, you got all these solar panels and some wind turbines on it, it is a fact. The contracts really places way away from here. We've got a long ways to go towards being renewable from ourselves. In fact, one of the things in our energy chapter that I take great issue with was that the London Regional Commission figured out that various towns wouldn't have to have self-generation to meet the renewable energy goals set forth by the state. Because as a region, since we have Searsburg, Deerfield Valley wind in our region, just there, the amount of power those produce is renewable energy. That relieve just about every other town from having to take serious generation renewable energy in their own border. Just didn't want that.
Yeah, they put that in a footnote.
That was a hard thought for them. Part of the reason it just took 10 years.
Do you remember the footnote?
No, not particularly, but I wanted it in the text. And
It's in the- Okay, it's in appendix one on page 40.
no, it's actually in the text as a footnote to the text. Just so that the very say horrible looking wind turbines, solar panels. And then they say, well,
What's that?
that's the region, we're producing all kinds of renewable energy, we don't have to do this.
Because up above, they have like the energy targets for the generation, and then down below, but because of this. There's a little bit. The case of graphing our generation, is in
I know you said it 1, 2, 3. But so that you're being polite to me, I know you got it.
I'm trying to come up with a final draft here for this. Question. It's our survey question to the town, right?
Yeah,
Well, see if I can take some things that we've talked about here, that's still written. We title it Grafton, how Grafton to exist. Grafton exists,
question.
Grafton exists, question mark. That would be your
Yeah. Punctuation is
So it's, let's see. It's being halfway through our 20. Being halfway through our 2020 town plan. Planning commission is beginning to. Dive back into the town plan revision process. We would like to engage residents in a constructive fashion.
With ideas, with changes.
Yeah, with ideas. 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 I'm gonna go on further. The Grafton Plan Commission asks residents to provide their thoughts on how and where they would like to see Grafton exist in the ever evolving and unpredictable future. Well, that's not, I had put the ever,
Two nice words, it's too ever evolving, it sounds like, how can I be sure?
it's your village and your participation for it to continue will be necessary to exist and how it will.
Get off your butt and send us.
Yeah, you know what, here's, I'd rather than point here, though, if you'd like to just send this around, and then we can all send back our little edit, I mean, this, I think you're gonna beat yourself up to try to craft this.
Right, so if I just send this
Yeah, send
out,
this around like this.
ECC everyone,
Yeah, is that okay, Eric? I mean,
As you should. But you still can't comment. It's hard to read it. Be informed. But when it comes to actual discussion of what's being presented, that has to be.
okay, but how about editing it? How about he sends around a draft, like I send around a draft, what's the difference? I send around a draft, you guys tweak it. He sends around a draft and we tweak it, and then he'll do
well,
it.
technically the tweaks should be done in meeting,
They really should?
yeah.
Or at least.
We can say that, well, we're gonna change this, but then in the meeting. When it comes to approval of the minutes, then you bring it up, we're gonna, Joe, it wasn't Joe, it was Mark who said that.
You can send it all to Matt and Matt can. Come up with a. Conglomeration,
A revision and
Yeah.
then bring it,
bring it to.
so
the-
but you wanna do this, get this out of here, you've been doing it. So
Well,
let's
we
go ahead.
wanna make it for the,
Yeah, yeah, so let's go ahead.
So
I
let's go out in August,
Yeah.
we're halfway through our town plan,
Yeah,
and we're gonna start the revision process.
so go ahead, so read it again, let's be.
Well, let's tweak it a little bit.
Let's tweak it.
Um,
No, it's fine, I just wanna make it sing.
being halfway through our 2020 town plan, planning commission is beginning. To make, I don't know, to make,
Has started, actually, how about has started?
Yeah, that started during giving those.
yes,
I don't know if everybody knows that it's 8 years and that was
Right,
halfway through 2020. Through 2020.
right,
halfway. Halfway through our 2020,
to 2020.
2020 through 2028. I don't know how many.
Yeah,
people
there
know
we go,
it's 8
yeah,
years.
we're halfway through our 2020.
To the current
2020 town plan. The planning commission. Has started. The town plan revision process.
2028 to the 2036. That's gonna be
2029.
2029.
2029. Town plan revision process. Because that's when it's gonna,
Yeah, we got tied up on dates. We're just starting. with-
Yeah, you know what, maybe not even put the date
No.
in because.
the town plan revision process, yeah. The planning commission would love to engage residents in a constructive fashion with ideas. We have,
So.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to, why does it would you like, would like to, say needs to, required,
Yeah,
you know, something.
demand,
Demands.
yeah.
Under penalty of public flogging.
We're strongly encouraged.
The plan commission strongly encourages.
community.
Strongly encourages engagement. From residents. In a constructive fashion. With new ideas.
Sure, you know, again, resident, I mean, to the extent that I'm not a resident, do you want my information, so do you want other, do you want townspeople, do you want to use the word resident, because then they find people
With townspeople,
or something.
although. To vote on the town plan,
That's a different issue.
The different issue, right, the idea is first to get info, and you can't, or do you not want people who aren't voters, and if you don't, then you want the word resident.
If they just say the Grafton community.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more inclusive.
But seriously, do you want everybody, or do you want?
Oh,
I think everybody,
I think it needs to be as open and as
Yeah.
welcoming as possible. If only registered voters. Did everything in the town. Then you'd only want them to be making the rules, but. Town is comprised of a lot of people who. Are not necessarily residents or, I mean. Voting residents, or it may not even be residents in the country. You've had a population here of folks that were doing agriculture under the illegally here, you know, that folks get their cattle raised about all the time, but are otherwise unrepresented. You might want to have their opinions as to what Grafton ought to be. I think the wider the net you can put out there for people's opinions, the better. And when it comes to voting on it, in a legal sense, that's residents only, and that's statute.
But you know, and when I say the two sides of that are, on the one hand, is that having a broader group might honestly generate some ideas that even the residents will.
Of course,
Right,
yeah.
that's really the reason.
Yeah,
Otherwise, the reason against it is that no one has as vested an interest in the well-being of this town as the long-term residents. And the other folks who are not the long-term, really serious residents of the town, really, their input can be really misguided for the town itself.
yeah,
it's simple, I mean, recognize it's misguided and not used it.
Right?
yeah,
And we're-
exactly, there's nothing that says what is generated by the gathering of information. Has to make it into the plan.
Because you can't say it has to be a good idea and keep it to yourself.
but at the end of this, do we, well, I just wrote down, the existing town plan is found at,
Ultimately,
the website.
take that phone, Serpentine Rock, it's up by the Middletown Cemetery, it's like completely surrounded by trees.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, what is it, got this picture of them?
1917.
Sorry. Got a picture of Serpentine Rock in the town plan,
Oh, yeah,
you ever been up there?
I haven't.
And it shows it just sitting in an open field where
Now it's full
back then, yeah.
now it's like,
It's hard to find now, I remember.
My friends.
Long time ago, I'm sure.
yeah, it's really not that far in the woods.
No, I think people are just during the pandemic. So, sorry.
So I was gonna add, the existing town plan is found at, give the website, the town website, the address. And then your responses can also be made at. How about, I'll do a Gmail. Well, Grafton exists at gmail.com.
You can do it. I still have, I don't have it right here with me, but I have that Gmail account that Seth set up.
All right,
but.
what would have been
But
called?
you know what, I gotta tell you something, I'm not gonna be able to find that, and so I could ask Seth again for you, he's around.
Well, he set it up on his team, didn't
He
he?
did, but.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you know
can do it online,
Yeah.
I can do it online to you, know, but I already have a wastewater. Not wastewater, but now the. Yeah, drafting wastewater. Study. At Gmail, when we were doing the water testing.
Yeah.
Just to communicate back and forth things.
The only problem might be is, does one have to have a Google membership or whatever in order to access this website?
To email it,
No, anybody
It's
can
just,
use it.
it's a Gmail,
Yeah,
email.
Yeah.
Okay,
anybody with any address can. Can enter it, yeah, we don't need to be another Gmail.
good.
So we're being on this. I'll have to work on it. I can type it in and edit, but. It just would be, we want to title it Grafton. Just. We want Grafton to,
I think you really do have the opportunity to grab people's attention, so that's really a good, isn't a bad thing.
is Grafton to exist?
Yeah, we'll grab them.
Will Grafton exist
Yeah.
in 2029?
Grafton.
No, it's too close, just, I think, just open ended, we'll grab them, how, no, I don't know, I really, too wired.
How about Grafton's future?
Not scary enough.
How will Grafton exist? In the future? Back to the future, Grafton.
Get the sport on.
That's a good move. Come on, guys.
It's a good question.
Yeah, their attention. Because this is the first attempt at this, we're gonna be doing it over and over, trying to get their attention.
Grafton or bust.
Will Grafton exist?
I don't know, I like that, I think it's punchy and obnoxious in the right
Yeah.
way.
Will Grafton exist? Question mark.
People are gonna say, hell yeah, it'll exist just fine, whatever, that's great, let them react.
That would, gonna be giving input.
Because we look at the town communities in the state that are just no longer there.
Are there a lot,
There's a little sign that says Grafton was here.
but seriously, are there towns like that?
Yeah,
Of course there are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
there's several, yeah,
Middletown.
a couple of, just,
The old village is up
the
there.
solar holes, I mean.
So will Grafton exist? Question mark. Plan commission has.
Well, David, would that make sense?
We're halfway through our 2028 town plan revision. No. Yeah,
No,
No,
we haven't started it.
town plan. The plan commission has
We got
started the town plan revision process. The long and arduous town plan.
No.
Okay. Why not? Okay,
It has a tendency to go that way whether we like it or not.
yeah. The planning commission strongly encourages engagement from the Grafton community in a constructive fashion with new ideas.
Yes,
The Grafton Planning Commission has asked residents to provide their thoughts on how and where they would like to see Grafton exist in the ever evolving unpredictable future. Ever evolving future.
I think it all sounds good, and I tell you, there's one stupid little comment further. I don't think even the word constructive is necessary. Because you know, because it already sets, it gives them more. You know, I don't know, it just seems like it's like softens it, you know, we want any idea, so you know, if someone wants to come and just give you something wacky and offensive. You know, you'll see how they write it, but if you tell them that it has to be constructive, who knows, you know, whether someone will be constrained by that, I know, it's a very minor thing. But it's fine.
Well,
Don't accept it.
I'm thinking ahead to the next
You
article.
might have to say it when you
Okay.
some point.
The next one could be, you write it, we write that, no, we get no response, okay. The next one's gonna say, the Grafton Planning Commission has added to our town plan. And we come up with some ridiculous. Nonsensical thing that's gonna really rattle
At their expense.
and go.
Yeah.
You're too serious, come on, lighten up.
I think that's it.
I was watching one of those documentary things on television last night. Mysteries of the Wind. And they had pair of the University of Wisconsin, Madison. Students that wanted to have the student vice president and president, or what was some sort of a distinction in the university. And they came up with their party was the pail and shovel party. And it was a exercise in ridiculousness. One of their campaign points was that they're going to move the Statue of Liberty to the lake that's right there in Madison. That was one thing. And I forgot what some of the others were, but what they did is they mopped up with basically structural steel and paper mache and all kinds of modeling. Just the top part of the Statue of Liberty that had the torch. They had this all in sections. Away. And one night they moved it out and set it on the ice on top of the lake. It looked like the Statue of Liberty was submerged in the lake. Great. So, and then their party won. They got the go ahead. It was so the idea of having something that is triggering ridiculousness is not a bad one. There ought to be a little bit of lightheartedness to things. And I don't mind seeing wild ideas as long as they're not essentially shoved down our throat by state statute or reporters. Wild ideas certainly will gain a little bit of attention, particularly in your headline that you use in the Grafton News. Be a news side of it. Do it right.
Yeah, no, so ridiculous but serious enough.
Yeah, it's like the onion, you know,
Yeah.
the PC committee recommend, hot air ballooning as instead of using cars.
Closing the
Yeah.
post office, and turning it into a Starbucks.
Right.
Okay, so we're on to.
And you get into the facts, not what I've got to.
Yeah. So ever evolving, so it's your village and your participation. Not right. Your participation for continuing. Will be necessary to exist and how it will. Sound good? You're nodding,
No, yeah.
I was just thinking,
It will exist and how it will.
how it will, maybe we read it again. it's your village and your participation for it, and it will be necessary. To exist, how it will.
Oh, we'll do something
On
with
the
it.
future, on
With
the
this,
future.
and how it will exist.
Okay, right, yeah.
The last one is your village and your participation is required. I just always seem to like pushing where you make it soft words, people won't be as.
Yeah, but you're required.
I mean, again, I couldn't turn them off, I'm not looking to turn them off, and I really know I do that, so please don't take me. You know, for real, please overrule this, and don't like. Being too strong like that, I just find that people need to be pushed.
Mhm.
They don't listen to you, but if you don't help them, then they definitely won't. Listen. That's kind of,
And they won't take the time to give you any information. So don't think that it matters.
right. That's right.
Should I put? There are 12 chapters to a town plan.
Present.
I think it's too much. I don't think you need.
Don't need that right
I
now.
don't think so. I think you really want to get.
The existing town plan is found on. I'll give them the site. And then your responses. Or. Additional information can be made at, your responses can be made at,
At your email.
yeah,
Right.
I'll put Grafton
And
in.
wouldn't you agree that at some point, you know, and truly, this has to be kept up for a month or more, I mean, not a couple of months for sure on the newsletter, on the newspaper, but then ultimately in the fall, at some point, you think there should be actual town hall, try to get groups of people here to kick it around.
So I just added this, your responses can be made at how will Grafton exist at gmail.com, and that could be the title. How will Grafton exist? Question mark.
Sounds good?
You know, and if you look through the town plan, what we had to go through for. You did 10 years, I did what, 6 years of it? 4 years of it,
Yeah, something
and it was painful.
involved.
It was very painful, you know, we started at, I think, 6 at that time. We went till 9 o'clock every night, and sometimes past, yeah. There were 9 of us. That were
Yeah, yeah,
on this,
and we were not. Emotionally overboard. We were civilly constrained to. Try to respect each other's boundaries. But in so doing, it just took forever.
Well, that's the way to do it, then.
we had a few townspeople who come every week. Some would go in once in a while,
It's like changing.
you know,
I just want to say, but I think you should be, I don't remember what you started, what the title of the thing was, if it was Will or Hal, but whatever it is, we decide should be the opener, you should also be the name of the Gmail, and I, it needs to be consistent.
how will Grafton exist? Question mark. And then it'll be how will Grafton exist, at gmail.com. I'll set that up.
I did so much.
So I'll send this out.
Okay.
Now, can each of us blind VCC maybe, or will then it'll be? Oh, there's no, because I always send it out.
Yeah, I don't see any reason. Why it had to be BCC. It's just that we can't expect for Twitter.
Yeah.
And email.
So that, let's just, the start of this, get some sort of survey questions. Or some answers back from the town. You know, without doing a survey, is this a way to get them to get involved? Right? We're also doing this monthly survey that you know, Dave spent several meetings and time trying to come up with a survey that just went round and round, trying to figure out who you survey, how do you survey, age brackets and residents versus non-residents.
Unless you have a lot of time to spend on that, I think doing something like this is productive.
Yeah, no, we can just each month throw something stronger and
Show
stronger.
the tree a little bit.
You know, the train station is going to be across from the Grafton, no, it's gonna be. The subway station will be. Oh, so that, we kind of went back and forth on, item 3 and 4, but. They're planning the next town thing, how do we want to tackle this thing? Do we want to go chapter by chapter? Starting at 1, going to 12, or do we want to pick out the top 4 that are gonna be the hardest? Do we want to do the easiest ones first, and get them out of the way? No one doing that change. We want to pick a chapter each month. Or at least do a chapter every. Month.
If, you know, the idea of doing the easy ones first, certainly, I mean, it's either the easy ones or the hard ones, I think mixing it up is probably, I don't.
We start with the easy ones, and we start the process of how we discuss it, and
But we learn, it'll help us on our
learn
learning.
some of our, and
And
then we gotta figure out what is the. You know, is there gonna be new legislature next year? But it's gonna go for 2 years. So we're gonna basically go for 2 more legislatures for our town meetings done. Our town plan is up again, right?
So you have to plan for late revisions based on what we're doing anyway.
Exactly, which is what happened
Yeah.
with us, because they had 2 acts. 171, 143, something, 140 something.
I don't know.
There were the,
Habitat connectivity.
yeah, in 4 o'clock. And that dictated how our mapping was.
One thing that I would like to see in our town plan explicitly is a public commitment to purchase of easements for the purpose of habitat connectivity. And along with that, the vegetated buffer for streams, kind of combining the two. Unfortunately, the way things are working now with the fields from Agency of Natural Resources, an individual landowner loses property value when the use of his land becomes constrained by the greater good of the community. And I think that the greater good of the community should be, in fact, in large part, reimbursing that person for depriving them of that use of the land. So if we need vegetated buffers of large size or restoration of floodplains, I think that should be something that the public invests in. And then the property owner that is being impacted is not help the value or use of them. This should somehow be in our town plan. I know it's gonna be a miserable topic with those that are trying to hold our taxes down. But this is the only equitable way I can think of achieving some of the larger goals that we're trying to do environmentally. And it not just benefit animals, so once we do floodplain restoration and vegetative buffers along streams, the chances of our getting much of our infrastructure and personal residential infrastructure knocked out will be greatly reduced. And it's because we've channelized streams, basically build sluice ways out of our streams, and water picks up velocity, and when it picks up velocity, it picks up rocks, and it undercuts everything in its way. We've got to slow the water down. And we can, in doing this vegetation, make a viable route for wildlife to go between these big forest blocks. Maybe we can keep some of the wildlife there. So,
You know, there's one area on our branch of Saxon River, where we said this, the road used to go. And 121 went down along the river, and then they brought it up higher, down in the woods there.
you're talking about the,
Well,
where it's
between Lisa's and, Merrill's. The road used to go down along the river.
no, I didn't know. I wasn't there. I know that,
You don't remember that?
I do know that the,
I don't remember that,
You remember it?
but, we used to pay out there in the school.
The road, as you went by Merrill's field,
Yeah,
went up the hill. Leveled out, it went to the left and down along the river and came out, back out. At Lisa's field. Before, then they changed the bridge. They moved the bridge up and the road went straight instead of down low to the river. That whole area down there is gonna be. I got 10 to 20 acres, guessing, along the river, that's pretty flat. Be a great area to open up. To allow for water to flow. And you can plant your,
intentional
your,
poisons.
Riparian buffer in there.
These are great ideas.
It's a big area, that's kind of what they did in Brattleboro on the Whetstone. Where, not more inside, we just worked on it about 3 years ago. They lowered the landway about 10 feet, it took out apartment blocks, it was. Driving, at all. They took out, it used to be an apartment complex. Low income. They took out 9 or 10 units that were at least 5 or 6 per unit. Took them out, lowered the area and did the floodway. And I believe it was either Brattleboro housing or maybe Women Housing Authority bought the property. And the remaining units are probably gonna be revitalized, but it'd be interesting to find out how they did that. Purchase. Of that property to do what they did, and was it a mitigation thing, or we'll do this land. Do the flood, resiliency, right?
Yep.
And. It was a several $1 million project. Losing with the general contractor, we did all the planting for it, but. It's backed up a couple times now since we installed it, but it doesn't flood the whole area, it's kind of. The river doesn't follow the bend anymore, it goes straight. Through this area, that we take area. The theory is that if the river would back up, it would back up in this area.
Is it a holding this?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, Sacramento.
So that's kind of what this
Yeah,
area
yeah.
up there would be, you take. take out that area so it's level with the stream bed and the stream kind of meander through, if it ever backs up. It's got a bigger area to fall in. Any debris that comes down from above can get collected in this area. And then get cleaned out once it gets in there. The one in Brattleboro, some debris came down and they didn't want to clear it out. So no, we're just gonna do that. The next flooding came through. And that what was blocking it made it worse. So they realized that, no, we gotta take this stuff back over. You know, they wanted to leave little logs and things in there to make it more natural, but not just. Not more of a problem.
Were you anywhere last week? Were you anywhere the other day when they had the 7 inches in the middle of the state? Did you see anything about that other than just reading the news?
I read about it, I saw pictures,
I
yeah.
was surprised, and again, I'm still watching all this, I was surprised at how muddy Connecticut was from that.
Mhm.
I had no idea, but it was really churning and,
Yep, well, came down from
Holy
the
mother.
Jack was down there and.
you know, we had nothing here, right? I mean, I didn't see
No.
anything.
Right.
It's really high in both sides.
Yeah,
Well, what's interesting is Monday last week, before this flooding started. They were, the Connecticut River was backed up. And they were letting water out of the dam. And, the falls looked like in the springtime, they were letting that much water out, and the canal was as full as it could get. This was before all the spring came. So I don't know what they were doing.
They're
If they
probably
back-
anticipating a surge.
They backed it up to get some energy generated and then they were letting the water out, but they let the water out for that Monday. I couldn't believe it. It looked like springtime last Monday,
that's where they still good.
and then the floods came. So they knew how much water was probably gonna be coming down. But the flood wasn't until
Yeah, I don't think.
Wednesday or Thursday last week.
The Northeast Kingdom has been pretty much spared most of the flooding. Until this time around. Lindenville, Cotton, Hardwick. Hardwick had it before. I don't think Lindenville, but. Yeah,
We talked about seeing.
I guess it can be done, but I don't think it's very effective.
There's, you know, state of Hampshire is, enacted a law. Stop any form of out season.
Oh, it was talked about. When I was a child, mainly out west where things are getting harsh.
Or they silver iodine, hurricanes.
Hmm.
They blast the rain side. The silver iodine to try to get it to collapse. So maybe I'll just leave it there.
That's all a lot of silver.
So what you saying, New Hampshire's outlawed cloud seeding?
Yeah,
I didn't even know people still do it. I really didn't even know that. Still part of it. It's still part of rainmaking and
yeah. Well, people are concerned about all the vapor trails we're seeing. Why all of a sudden we're seeing more vapor trails than usual?
right.
It's more water vapor in the air. This is certainly the most uncomfortable summer so far. That I can remember for a long time.
Oh, we had that before.
Of course. Usually for short periods of time. Second time around this summer.
So. You wanna keep. The town plan revision as part of our agenda moving forward. We have some discussion each month. Whether it's, see what kind of response we get from our. Letter. Or news article.
But if, and Matt, if you wanna start, I mean, you say when, but if you wanna start it's tasking discussion each month about X, Y, or Z, we don't be shy.
Or do we wanna, start with the simple ones, we wanna share working on this, each of us takes a couple of chapters and studies it and comes up with some ideas. We'll be there for hard ones. No,
Well, I wanna work on resilience. Which. Gonna be very important.
and do we wanna add a chapter about emergency management? As you were thinking,
It mentions that in there somewhere.
It could be incorporated within what's there now. And
which is, what do we,
I'm forgetting what the chapter headings are.
Well, it's not in there, it does not emergency.
it's probably under where we have fire and rescue and.
Yes,
Services.
in the same place.
So resiliency is a little wider topic than just emergency services. Because the emergency response is only a fraction of developing resilience. The direct reaction to some kind of occurrence. Whereas mitigation and design of structures and ways of doing things that make life pleasant, or go far beyond just an emergency response.
So it's other services, it's emergency planning and disaster preparedness.
Yeah.
Right, we've got fire, emergency medical, police. And emergency planning and disaster preparedness. And then health service.
So
It's only like 4 or 5 paragraphs.
So logically, that could be expanded with the topic of resilience.
It's very into our.
I'd also noticed under housing, we have rental properties, and we've had some discussion on Airbnbs. And if you want, if that should be expanded out.
Absolutely.
Discussion.
Just 4 years ago, we weren't even thinking Airbnbs, were we?
Yeah, it has house rental, which makes sense, but.
Right, well, good discussion, any more on that? Item? We're good? Old business? The wastewater impasse. We are definitely at an impasse.
Is there anything more in the subboard? Is there anything from?
We're waiting to hear from Plan Bond at the moment, as to what they can provide for us, whether it's even part of their workforce. Or the state came back with it's giving us 90 days if and the 90% study or report. Didn't you guys get the email from Morgan? Maybe not.
One word,
Well, it was from Emily Hackett. She finally got back to Morgan with a list from A&R. Here's the A&R, so we need to do. And one of them was, there's like 8 different things. Number 4 or 5 was, come up with a municipal waste, municipal water, system. which added another 8 million. To the project. Um, So. ANR went through Emily. Tell us what the list of things are needed. To continue. Moving. And then, time bonus is not answered any of this. We've asked them for the 90% report. I can't say the.
And we gave them all that other money.
Yeah, and they've got good money. So in order to get this, ARPA? What's $1 million?
Yeah, I think it was probably federal money. That's gonna expire.
You didn't say, you said the four million.
4 million that they granted. That originally was, we needed to use it by 2026. You know, they took it away, they wanted to take it away. And, I don't know the full details of it, sorry, but the email from Morgan was. The answers from Emily Hackett. Yeah, discussed with Emily, we need a very clear and specific scope of work with price estimates, including how we are. Going to use the money. An example she gave was to do a drinking water PER and have wells tested. Estimated, so this is where they were saying, oh, we can use some of that money toward, checking the well, you know, test for PFAS. And she mentioned it to Aaron and Kyle from Giant Bond. Everything back on that. I don't think they want to get involved in it. Not yet. And there's also the review water testing. Liable, someone's found with PFAS. On their water. What do we do?
I'll street it then and sand,
Yeah,
not a problem, you know.
yeah. So it was that, and then. Yeah, there was a list of, here's everything you need to do. In order to get 90% report. One of them was 90% for time bond. But the big one was, you know, have as part of your engineering study, the water, municipal water.
That's true.
Yeah, so they're gonna give us 4 million toward a potentially what? 16 million dollars. That's not happening.
And it's also sad to think that the 4 million can get chipped away by just doing. Regulatory testing rather than proactive or, forward moving capital infrastructure.
So I posed the question of, what happened with the considerations for the potential new wastewater site location down in Richfield. That's just kind of blowing out there too. They wanted to know the exact address, they wanted to know, all this other stuff, and then, yeah, you gotta to do the pits, that's on you, you're gonna go do the test pits on your own dime. That was one other thing. So it's. I call it an impasse.
Do you think that the 4 million is basically gonna go away? Is that what you think's gonna happen?
Sure. You know. And my thoughts on that are, they want to use that money before it goes away, so they can get their cut for their agency. If not, we want our cut, we gotta use it.
Pretty simple, but probably real.
Most of the money that go into these federal projects are for agencies and attorneys. Probably half the money.
And the consultant.
You know, guys going to work in the ditch or getting payments.
We changed the subject slightly,
Yeah, you got a couple of new things?
well.
Any other thing?
Apropos, which we're around on that,
Okay,
I would like to see, further motion, whether or not Grafton is going to be able to do it right this time, of, what might be done to mitigate, PFAS
Mm,
and or other chemicals in, wastewater. So, it's, we'll get those folks from Texas.
yeah,
Talk about
yeah.
this.
Hannah has had some health issues and she's been trying to. Getting by with her health issues on her work, and I haven't brought it up again, but I will. With her. I don't mind when I talk to her, but I didn't know. Add that to. Or,
Yeah, is she the only one in the country or the world that's?
well, she had the
Yeah,
connection, she made the connection,
Okay.
and she was excited about finding it, and had a great conversation with this. Researcher out there. I think doing Zoom meetings to get some information would be great.
Which is a good segue. I just go with this now. I sent an email around all,
I read it, yeah.
and Margaret was going to pursue it, and she did to a certain extent. I don't know what the equipment is that the one contractor is proposing, and whether it complements or goes away with the yellow, or,
Did she send a quote to you?
yeah, she sent the quote to me and I forwarded it in the email. A greater percentage of our town business, whether it be planning commission or select board or whoever official is going to be connected with remote connections, especially where we're trying to gain expertise from people all over the world, perhaps. And Liz Howell, video wise is kind of crappy, if you can just barely make out people's facial features. The back of the room over here, it's almost useless. This distance is pretty good. But that's not the worst of it. Well, the worst of it is the audio, which for me is 50% of the wordage that Owl captures and puts out over Zoom. You can understand that the rest of it is kind of muddy. Has no high frequency content to it. It's not crisp enough to give you the ability to distinguish between otherwise similar words. And I think that should be a simple issue, but I don't know. I just know the system is not working to the degree that we have a need for it, and I want to see it upgraded. She's kicked the football in our
Yeah, so there's three options. Yeah, plus, there's three options, one is a Epson Pro. Full HD, 1080p wireless projector and with Miracast. $1,000. Oh, 60. Option two, Epson PowerLight. L210SF projector. $2,000. Quantity one. Option three is video conferencing kit. I don't know why these three are all options, but Logitech Rally Plus video conferencing kit. 4K white light clouds, 3245. So there's three options, but yet they totaled it to. Option one, option two, option three, both summary, the whole kit would be 6360. With $35
Yeah.
shipping,
I don't know what to make of it.
so. Are these the folks that came up with this?
They've been working apparently with the town. I think on other. Computer audio-visual stuff. But I don't know whether this works with that. I think this projector is the one that was up at the township. Not really too worried about the projector so much as I am getting high resolution video so that someone on Zoom can actually see who's doing the talking. And that damn thing responds so that when somebody speaks over there, knows it's there and goes there. And more importantly than anything else, makes speech intelligent. It isn't right, it's perfect.
So 6360 was just equipment. The installation and configuration by the tech group will be built separately at current rates on a time and material basis.
Who's gonna speak?
And they don't even have the rates here.
You're singing.
Due to backlogs and product shortages, distributor pricing is subject to change based on product pricing at the time of shipment. Tech group. There's a lot of IT companies out there that, I mean, get more than one quote, sure.
Well, I don't see any brick and mortar address on it.
Phone number and
Hmm.
862 thing like that.
They'll say we should come close, we should attaching.
So we budgeted something in our budget.
Or none of the words told down, then we were told. Don't need to do that, we're gonna do it, and they didn't.
Yeah.
I think it's
Oh,
gonna,
this is. I mean, they're showing all three options in the quote table. I don't think that's the quote, right?
Well, I think you might need all three things. You need a wireless projector with Miracast, and then you need a projector.
Oh,
And then you need a video conferencing
why do
kit.
they label the option 1, 2, and 3 then?
it's confusing.
Why would you find the video kit?
You know, we've got a projector.
I thought Mirrorcast, and again, I know nothing of it, I thought Mirrorcast was just done through the software on your phone.
I have Miracast, yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't, right?
Yeah.
You find out,
When I wanted to, it doesn't.
Yeah,
Then
exactly.
it's something stupid like, you know, whatever. You kind of, I really don't understand that. But I'm with you, Eric, I think, I mean, and I can't believe that's a big problem, I think to get a high fidelity speaker should be a really. Tends to be really easy one.
It could be as simple as just a mixing box and knocks the bass down and boosts the treble. Could,
I bet you.
So it's more sound than video that you're concerned about.
I wanna be able to understand the words.
Yeah.
I also like to have better video, the words are important.
That's definitely passable, if we could hear people, I mean, it's not great, but there's nothing wrong with it, it's really not the money I would spend first. I think, you know, even this little recorder, you know, it's sometimes hard to. Ron's not here now, but you know, when I'm far away from him, it's hard to hear him on this. And I'm sort of guessing this, but I remember a little bit, I'm Peggy's doing it, I'm helping her remember,
Yeah,
I'm remembering what was the issue.
and we're all soft spoken here. Even on the select board, they're all soft spoken too.
The nicest thing anyone said to me all night, Matt.
And say well spoken, it's soft spoken.
I mean, that's also good, I'll take that.
And uneducated, yes. Like using a microphone on from up there. and then sort of in the middle of the room. It'd be pretty well.
I mean, I honestly would have thought that in this world, something like that would work better, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's something better than that, frankly, but. This is new, right? This is only been here a year or so,
Yeah,
this thing.
Is there anyone, there's gonna be someone in town that helps out? Was it Brian Chase was pretty good with IT stuff? He was helping us with microphones and sound. When we met at the school. I mean,
we'll see, it's updated with the group that was in. The old unified building.
no, he was a part-time resident. Living in the house just past Joan Lane's house.
Did you guys have audio visual? When did you start with audio visual in the first one? Just the pandemic or?
Yeah.
before that?
Yeah, pandemic, yeah, well, before the pandemic, Ryan was, pretty much setting up a mic so you could hear the conversations just in the audience,
Right.
it was
Yeah.
live audience. Just like that, there wasn't even anything recorded back then.
Yeah.
Years ago.
The first item on the list, they quote 1,060 for you and buy an enzyme for 740.
Look at it, really.
Business city, make money.
Yeah.
There was someone local in New Orleans, say, you know, it's a couple $100 more for someone local.
Yeah.
He's gonna buy it off Amazon, mail it.
Yeah.
Did you have another, nothing else you were gonna bring up?
Well, I had mentioned in one of the other emails I forwarded to that, with the new. Tinkering is active, officially, we're gonna have to incorporate some changes into. the Town hall agreements. maybe into our. Flood hazard. Mitigation. Regulations. Let's sound fine first.
The new revision, the new Act 250 revisions are gonna impact our
Yes.
flood. Resiliency? No, which is
Well, there are flood regulations.
regulation.
Yeah.
So there's the ever changing
Mhm.
future.
I want to ask them about the quote, because all three of those options sound projected, and I'm not sure why we need three. I think they just did their quote kind of weird way.
You said you're all created projectors.
Well, they all include a projector, so. I mean, I don't think. I think it's three different options.
Yeah, and then the proposal of it, added all three,
Yeah,
but it's one of the three, plus kind of material to set it up.
it's kind of a weird figure to a quote.
At least give the rate. At least give the rate is in there.
Yeah.
There's one more thing.
So I think it's like you want a low end, medium or high end. And their high end one they have here is also $1,000 less on than. 24.
So,
But yeah, they're a business to make money.
for another $1,000, you can get a higher end system.
Yeah,
I don't know, you need a better projector. That's not really a problem. It's the video input.
the rally
More
plus
important,
video.
the audio is more.
Yeah, it just. Don also comes with the pre-distributed mics that looks like, you know, the ones that you have out on the table on the table.
Well, we need to be able to hear the audience too.
With something that's come to a microphone.
That's awkward, and I don't think it should be necessary. It is, I don't think so.
It's up to the audience. One last thing, the Thursday, the local housing mitigation plan update meetings. Happening
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. And might be able to make this one. But you coming,
Probably be here first.
the last one was successful,
That's,
that was the first one, right?
yeah.
You wanted to mention your, the human.
Yeah, I want, and when we start actually working on what we do for emergency response. I want to make sure that we cover things other than just road restoration operations. But there has to be a very strong both planning and training effort put into how you people. Help them both in terms of resources that you give them, but psychologically, they're going through some very stressful times. They're not always well received with people that are basically trying to get the place back on.
Yeah, is that part of, if it's bad enough to Red Cross, is that part of Red Cross's?
Yes, but if it's a regional disaster. Red Cross is gonna be pretty stretched thin. Oh, where we had isolated flash flooding back in, I want to say '96. Red Cross came in and did super. We were the only ones that are affected already. When Irene. I think they had a presence here, there. When they set up shelters in Brattleboro or White River or some far flung location that anybody really wanted shelter, have a hard time getting. They, they have very finite resources. I think we need to develop the expertise, not necessarily to replace the Red Cross, but at least to manage in some fashion. Some of the functions here in town. Volunteers, for instance. Pretty ad hoc, and it got done, but it wasn't. All organized and well planned function. And fortunately, we had Bill around to beat people into arranging financial accounting so that we could get federal money. Whereas some of the neighboring towns said, well, we're gonna do business as usual. Go out for bids to fix stuff. We couldn't find people not only to bid on stuff, to do anything, and by the time we get all around to actually trying to do something, the window for applying for the FEMA money expired. They were flunks. And don't know what to do as far as dragging the county department in the right direction. However, most of that isn't written down. That's in Bill's head. You know, I want it written down. I want it well documented how we have to approach the problem. We know how to rebuild roads. That's not an issue. We did a really good job. But the region does not have a good handle on how to deal with FEMA. I suppose if we were Louisiana and gets hammered with hurricanes all the time, tornadoes, we know how to do that, but we're not that educated in doing that. We need to make that an integral part of our emergency response plan.
State addressing it in any fashion?
Well, as far as I know, they work back in our state. I can't imagine something that in Vermont really wasn't that familiar.
Would it fall under public health?
Well, it's really emergency management. Health function under emergency. Where you know how to find the resources. Well, at least the health side of things, the financial side of things, just means you know how to run the books so that FEMA's happy when they come in and decide whether or not you can be reimbursed. Which brings up another issue. I don't think that FEMA's gonna have money in another 5 or 10 years to fund all of this infrastructure repair that they're doing. So we're being torn apart so fast and at such an accelerated rate. Southern part of the United States is is just going to be, an enormous, uh. Cash sinkhole. And at some point. When we get a. Highway washed out of here, there's not gonna be FEMA money to pay for it, fix it. We're gonna have to figure out ahead of time, that's why I like to incorporate more on resilience into our town plan. How do we make our structures, infrastructure more resilient, so we don't have to lose it all?
But then where does that funding come from, just to be resilient?
I think there's something here. Well, they borrow steel along the way from FEMA and the way things get rebuilt. It was. That was an issue back in Irene, we couldn't put in culverts, that are any bigger than what was there before, well. Gee. Didn't work the first time, why should it work the second time, just. Chasing good money after bad. And we really have to build our infrastructure. Much more resilient, make it withstand what's happening in the planet. That's gonna cost, that'll be painful. But it's far better to do it. Somewhat painful over a long period of time than have it catastrophically over a few months.
Are you pointing your mind to, move the roads? Up the riverbed, we mentioned the 91 along the Connecticut River.
Some of that's gonna have to be done, and or. How we build the roads themselves. Structurally.
Because I've always said, to build a road, to build a river.
Yeah.
And you gotta address the water coming off that road. I think that's what's happening in Stratton, and why the West River has so much damage. I mean, you drive that river, it's like, look that. You got the water, it's gotta be the water just pouring off Stratton, all the roads and ditches. It's not getting absorbed in the forest anymore, it's coming down these roads, culverts, streams.
Mhm.
They
And
said that's
the
what,
last one-
that's what destroyed Ludlow.
Exactly.
All that happened in Okemo was, there's no more ground cover to absorb water, and everyone knows this, I mean. The asphalting, and certainly June City, the asphalting of everything is being flooding so much more.
Yeah.
Problem.
One thing for another pass in the city, they get flooded. It's another thing, when a road in Vermont becomes a river.
And actually, to your point too, again, not that I know, but it seems like we actually have simpler, more. Whole cloth type of solutions to work with. Because the land is so much more fungible that you really could create these broader channels with relatively less pain. Because there's not so much building around, I mean, obviously you can't do it everywhere, but like that piece of land you're talking about. It just seems like, these are the simple things, like easier things to put around everywhere, wherever possible to be absorbent. I mean, take it all.
Yeah.
This is my call.
I missed my calling too, but I'm not sure what it was.
That's really the right answer. I agree too. Yeah. But another one, Mr. College.
I've watched the state response to what happened to last July flooding. And now a repeat section this year. And I have yet to hear very much about trying to build village and home infrastructure. Flood resistant. Villages really need to be moved out of floodplain. As painful as that is. They need to move. And where it's marginal, the houses need to be put on stilts. Maybe camouflage a little bit with panels that kind of wash away underneath, but they need to get out of the water.
Now,
Yeah.
there's some also discussion about dredging rivers in vulnerable areas, so. A lot of these rivers have gotten filled up with the gravels and silts and debris that coming off these embankments. And the river's getting wider, but the materials staying in the river. So that material's gotta come out.
Don't say that in the presence of the NR person.
Well, that's where that's where
Unless you
they're
give
gonna
yourself,
get their heads out of the butt somehow.
unless you give yourself enough feet distance so they can't.
Yeah, because they're working on too much ideology. Up at A&R, they really are. Good idea. But how do you implement it?
On floodplain restoration, at least I think we're in agreement with what. Yeah, Eric's doing here. It's expensive though, because. You're. Capturing a whole bunch of land that otherwise. We've enjoyed using. Without problems for centuries.
Well, any other new business, old business? Any public comment? Guess not. Our next meeting is August 13th, is that a Tuesday?
Oh, I'm gonna be in Connecticut. Gonna be in Connecticut better.
Well, the 13th. We've done the
And
third Tuesday the past couple of months, we wanna move it out, so I mean, Ron said he couldn't make it. The meeting, I think we had the wrong date, he was thinking of it last week. We getting this tonight, probably because of the storm. But, we wanna move to. 20th,
Yeah. There's-
20th for you.
I don't know, the last time around. I got myself like picket. With this state, because it was double booked or something that. Turned out to be a mistake, fortunately. With. Legion Band,
So,
so I don't know whether the third. Tuesday is gonna be okay. But if we had. Zoom up and working with that, work for you, most?
Well, maybe. Yeah, the kind of a family thing, we're gonna have here, so make sure it's happening that specific thing.
I mean, to move it to the 20th, we'll put it a month out from today. Correct? Yeah, third Wednesday, just well,
Or Tuesday.
third or Tuesday. And I'm sorry, I messed up on the date here because
So it's Tuesday the 15th.
I had Tuesday the 18th.
Or
Okay. Because I have something tomorrow night, the 18th, and I. It's what it is.
You didn't see it?
Well, I will check and see. I'm conflicted with that stuff.
I'll put forward, that means, let me know. But it's not put out to Ron. The 13th and 20th works. So we'll put it as 13th, possibly 20th. Continue our planning discussion, I'll get this out. To Wendy. I'll send you all,
Godspeed, Matt.
feel free to throw it,
No, it's
throw
coming.
that,
Don't overthink it. Just throw, you know, put it out there and let's see what happens.
you know, I'll be inspired. Script here too. Okay,
Turn,
motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
All those in favor, aye. Opposed? It, 9:47. Thank you.
Sure. Good work.
Good discussion.
I'll see you there, it's great.
Yeah, that'll be fun, yeah. I'm excited, we're gonna get expert answer from city.
That's still up in the air a little bit, no other contract. Maybe we had one.
No, they probably.
Right. You think the power guy will? Right, be well. And you're good, Eric, thank you.